Okay, so the Chapter 8 material is here. There's some parsing questions, so why don't we start with those? Anybody have any questions you want to raise about the parsing here, first part? Okay, so the first one, you had dative, singular, and feminine. Is that right or wrong?
Well, because the iota on the A is the I.
Mm-hmm.
And the dative singular is the iota.
Mm-hmm. That's right. What's the lexical form of this noun? Hey, Mara. So the lexical form has an alpha stem and no case ending, right? And that would make it what gender? Feminine, yes. That iota subscript then tells you it's dative and singular. So yes, that would be right. Inflected meaning? Yes, that's right. So here, we'll just go with in a day, just for fun, okay? And to keep it short and sweet. Fair enough? What declension pattern does this follow? It's first, because my stem vowel is alpha. Great. Other questions? If you compare that with number 5, what do you have here? It's an iota subscript, so that makes this dative singular again. Is it feminine? No. How do you know that? That's right. I've got an omega, not an alpha or an eta. So I'd be looking for a masculine or neuter, right? Now, let me just put them both down here for a second. Can I eliminate one of them? If I know the lexical form, I can. What is the lexical form? Thanatos. 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 I believe that's where that accent is. And since the lexical form ends with a sigma, this must be masculine. Very good. Assuming it's a second declension noun with an omicron there for the stem. So I'm going to get rid of the neuter possibility. If the lexical form had been thanaton, then I would assume it's a neuter noun. Okay. How would I know for sure? Look in your glossary list and find out which article also accompanies this. And is it ta thanatos or ha thanatos? Do you mean the case ending chart, or are you talking about something else? Okay, yes. I encourage you to have the case ending chart in front of you so that you can constantly, until the point where you've got it firmly fixed in your head, you can look at these things. So let me just give you an example. We have parabolais here, number 3, right? So you may look at that and go, oh, well, the case ending sigma. And that might be true, but what's right before the sigma? There's an iota here, right? What am I looking for a stem vowel before my case ending? Alpha, eta, or omicron. I want one of those 3. And I have an alpha here, so I can't circle the sigma alone, can I? It's the iota sigma. Now, when you look at your chart, you see the iota sigma. There's 3 possibilities here, right? Dative what? Dative plural. And which genders have iota sigma for their dative plural? Yeah, masculine, feminine, and neuter, right? But which one of those would this be if I've got an alpha before it? It'd be feminine. So not masculine or neuter, you see. And can we confirm that? What's the lexical form of parabolais? Yes, parabole. And that does end with an eta. And the hey would be the article that you see with it in your word list. And then just to finish this off, how would we translate this? Yes, in parables. Or with parables. Either would be perfectly good. Now for number 4, you see the own ending? What does that tell you? Genitive plural. Can you tell what the stem vowel is on this form? So you don't know whether it's an alpha, eta, or omicron, do you? Why not? That's right. The omega always obscures that. So the only way to know what gender this is to go back to the lexical form, which you have memorized or hopefully have. And what is the lexical form? Hamartia. Good. Hamartia. By the way, did you notice I didn't cross my tau over here? You see that? I saw on some of the homework towels looking like this. That's not Greek. That's from the devil. No, I'm just kidding. But no. Don't cross your T's and don't dot your I's. Or I'll be like Mo and poke your eyes. Okay, so hamartia. So what gender is that? What declension is it? It's feminine and first declension. So it's genitive plural and feminine. Okay. And how would you translate this? Yes, of sins. Good. Now, if I had apa, hamartia, okay, what would happen? The omicron would drop out, right? And what's the breathing mark here with this vowel? Yeah, it's rough. So what's going to happen to the P? It'll become phi, and I get an apostrophe. Amartion. How would I translate this? What's the meaning of apa? From. So should I translate this as from of sins? No. Amartion would be from sins. That's right. So don't use the keyword for the genitive here. It's genitive not because of the keyword. It's genitive because of the preposition that requires the genitive case here. All right. Anybody have any other questions?
How important when we write the lexical form are the accents?
I think they're important because you can't really memorize the lexical form if you keep pronouncing the stress in different places. So learn the accent, learn the stress, and keep it there. Okay? All right. Let's look at the warm-up exercises. Are we puzzled about anything here?
In Delta, I'm confused on why it's like past tense, why it was with Joseph rather than is.
Is Ain, he, she, or it is, or he, she, or it was? Yeah, this is that past tense form of Amy, right? Estine is the present form. So just a quick question. If Ain is third singular, you could translate this as he was, right? So question is, should you take the subject as the embedded pronoun that this is marking as third singular, or should you take kurios as the subject? And what would make you think that? Yeah, what ending is that? Nominative. And nominative would give you the presumption of being the subject, wouldn't it? But when you have a verb like ain and ami, its present forms, you could also have a predicate nominative. Something is something, in which case it is conceivable that if all you had was kai ein kurios, that could be translated as and he was Lord. Okay? And he was Lord. Now, the addition of this prepositional phrase makes it less likely, though, to be "and he was Lord," because then you have to fit this prepositional phrase into your translation. And he was Lord with Joseph. What in the world would that mean? Okay? Rather, it does seem like this should be the subject. That would be the copular verb. And then what the Lord was is indicated by the prepositional phrase. The Lord was with Joseph. Now that does, just on the face of it, seem to make better sense, doesn't it? All right. But just be aware, okay? Because when we learn that in Greek, if you have things like X was Y, both of these are going to be nominative case. You got to keep your eye open for those and which one might be the subject and which one might be the predicate nominative. Here is your rule of thumb, because sometimes you will actually have two nominative case nouns, like an epsilon. How are we going to know which one's the subject and which one's the predicate nominative? The rule of thumb is usually whatever the old information is the subject, and what the newly asserted information is the predicate. If I said, for example, once upon a time there was a princess. Now the princess was beautiful, and the princess was a daughter of a mighty warrior. Princess and mighty warrior would both be nominative case in Greek. But who am I already talking about? The princess. But her identity as being the daughter of a mighty warrior, that is the newly asserted information. That's usually what the predicate information is going to give you. All right? So, in epsilon, I have hutas estin hahuias tu theou. What's hutas mean? This, meaning this person, this one. What gender and number is this? Masculine singular. So I could just translate it as this, like, this, and I'm pointing to a masculine singular person. This is hahuias tu theou, the Son of God. What case is this? This is nominative. Huios is likewise nominative. One of these is the subject, one of them's the predicate. When I use a pronoun like this, like this one, usually I use this to refer to things that I'm already talking about. Right? That's my prototypical use of a pronoun. It's to replace a noun that you already know. If I just look at you and say, this stinks, what's the this refer to? You don't know. Okay? But if I said, hey, there was an accident on the road when I came. There were actually several accidents, and this really bummed me out. What's the this refer to? Refers to the situation of there being accidents, okay? So pronouns that refer backwards to what's already been discussed, those are evoking old information. So when I say this is, what I'm saying is, hey, this person I was talking about over here, this one is newly asserted information, the Son of God. So I would suppose that hutas is the subject here. Okay? Yes?
Just so I'm clear, hutas is the subject and huios is the predicate nominative.
Exactly. And then tu theou is genitive because it's in a genitive relationship with huios, telling you whose son. So when we have genitive nouns that do that, they'll hang with the head noun. So this is, so forth and so on. Okay? All right. Anybody have any questions? On zeta, it says theoi este. What case is theoi? Yeah? Is it dative singular? Okay, this is nominative plural. Dative singular, I'd have the omicron lengthen, become omega, iota with subscript. Dative plural, I'd have an iota and what? dative plurals are iota sigma, right? So this is just an iota. So that's the nominative plural. So that should be the subject, right? Is theoi the subject? Why not? You're shaking your head. Well, gods could be the subject of a verb eimi. Why might it not be so here? The ending of God? Well, that's nominative, isn't it? So let's make it the subject. Shall we? Okay, so it would mean gods are. Does that mean gods are? Este is what? You plural are. You plural are. So who's the subject, gods or you? The second person plural entity is the subject. So it's you or you all. That means that the subject is unstated, right? It's only implied by the verbal ending. And that means this nominative form must be what? It's the predicate nominative. So you are gods. Yeah, almost feels bad to say that, huh? Is that common? No. But actually, it's Jesus citing Psalm 82.
Well, what I meant was like the phrasing, like dropping, just to say things in that manner.
Yeah, it's not uncommon at all because the verb carries with it the subject marking. So you can tell who the subject is. So because that's a second person plural verb, you wouldn't expect theoi to be the subject because remember, when you're talking about somebody that's not an I or a you, or a we or a you all, what person is it? It's third. So if theoi were the subject, then the verb would have to be third person plural, wouldn't it? And it would be theoi esin. Gods are, and then whatever they are would be next. Okay? So yeah, you got to pay attention to the verb form of eimi when you're doing this. All right? Now, we didn't even look at the prepositions here, even though much of the lesson's about prepositions. So look at n. What case should I expect the object of n to be in? Dative. One of the things Mounce tells you to do is to constantly say things like this. The preposition n takes its object in the dative case. And that's always the situation. Whereas when you have other prepositions that could take other cases, like meta could be followed by the genitive or the accusative, then you want to be reminding yourself of things like meta, when it takes its object in the genitive case means with, right? And meta, when it takes its object in the accusative case means after, all right? So just say those things over and over again to yourself as you're practicing. If you're creating flashcards, you should have a separate flashcard for meta plus the genitive. Flip it over with different flashcard, meta plus the accusative. Flip it over after. All right. So anyhow, so n dative case. Translate that. In the gospel, in the good news. Good. Ace takes its object in what case? Accusative. See that accusative new? Yeah? And it's always accusative. You don't have variety here. So how would you translate that? In or into the house. Good. Meta plus the genitive, John, is with John. Yeah, with John. Notice that even though this is genitive case, I'm not going to use the genitive keyword of if I have a preposition that requires the genitive. Not with of John, just with John. With John. Now, over here I have meta Yosef. Is there an inflectional ending on Yosef? I can't tell whether that's genitive or accusative, can I? So I'm going to have to try both of them on for size here. And the Lord was either with Joseph or after Joseph. Yeah. Contextually, you'll usually be able to make a good decision on this. But since Yosef's indeclinable, you don't really know what case that is, okay? So you have to look at your context there. All right. I think that's it for the preps.